Before we start, since I know a lot of you guys are interested in this Chain Passage monster, it has, in fact, been spotted making a return, but there is no new info regarding it yet. And as far as I know, we haven't discovered if the Merle creature is in the game, but likely will be considering all the old stuff is back. So remember how in my last Kirby lore video I said I was concerned for the future of Kirby lore? Well, I take it all back. We are so back, baby! Okay, there is still the possibility that Air Riders isn't canon, but let's be honest, how often do we actually get deconfirmations of canonicity? Rarely ever. It's usually based purely on if the worlds contradict each other in the eyes of the fans, which is no gospel. There are two big points of contention I can already see. One, the plot of story mode, and two, everyone having copy abilities. And I think they're both connected and explainable. It's not uncommon for Kirby games to have some inciting incidents that drastically changes the world and people, but by the end of the game it always gets reverted. In Planet Robobot, Waddle Dees quickly get assimilated into the society Haltman built, but it gets destroyed at the end and they all move on like nothing happened. Same here. Though, based on the wording of this event, it lasted a really long time, probably longer than these usually are, even though we technically don't know how long each plot of a Kirby game lasts. The Zora that caused the air machines to appear may simply have also caused everyone to gain the capture/copy ability, and it will likely be lost at the end of the story, thus not causing any problems with the canon. If it was just an alternate universe, there would be no need for a backstory. It could simply be a universe that happens to revolve around racing, like the Clash universe, which just happens to revolve around quests and hunting monsters. Regardless, another entity having any kind of control over copy abilities has crazy implications. The copy ability is rooted in Void and Dark Matter. Void and Dark Nebula use elements, Miracle Matter and Gooey have full-on copy abilities. So whatever entity is responsible for this may have the ability to harness the Void. Then there's always the possibility that the copy abilities don't even exist in any capacity in canon and are purely a gameplay element to balance out the game, just like Sakurai said. So, with those two big things out of the way, let's talk about why this game is such a step forward for Kirby, and specifically lore. First, Sakurai absolutely crushed the "only cares about classic Kirby" accusations with a perfect blend of classic, modern, and brand new content. But the big thing is how all the most important figures in Kirby lore are not only present in this game, but seem to be playing an active role in the story. Too long, Kirby games have brought back characters and artifacts just for the sake of familiarity. Now we're actually seeing them do something meaningful again. Nova is here, the Fountain of Dreams, Nightmare, and some incarnation of Zero 2. The new character further proves Dedede's relation to the Ancients, and the existence of the Airides themselves and all the spacecraft further signify that just about everything in Kirby traces back to Earth. And the Zora entity is named after a biblical location, which means Kumazaki has successfully converted Sakurai to Christianity, and are now on the same page when it comes to storytelling, so hopefully no more of his previous "it doesn't need to make sense" philosophies, which was the only thing I was really concerned about with Sakurai being in charge again. Going back to those returning entities, the first three have always been associated, so it makes sense to see them together, and Nightmare is already said to be able to revive infinitely. But Zero 2 is a strange one. It's implied Zero 2 was a second mind born from the same body of the defeated Zero in Dreamland 3. So how would reviving this character even work? Is it a Zero 3? Is it Zero 2.5? And while at first we were unsure if the strange look was just because of its entrance animation, but for some reason they decided to release more footage of this boss, and this is just what it looks like now. So, there's two main theories as to why it looks like this. One, that it's a clone of some kind, similar to the clones in Planet Robobot, or a hologram or something. Two, that it has to look like this for the sake of the age rating. Zero 2, in his original design, had exposed bloody nerves as wings, and you shoot crystals in its eye to make it bleed. The only reason they were able to get away with all that in a rated E game is because of the old graphics. So a different design might be entirely necessary. And of course it could be both of those reasons combined. Now, even a clone of Zero 2 raises questions. A dark matter clone is understandable, as there's probably traces of it everywhere across the galaxy in the Kirby universe, but for a clone of Zero 2 to be made, whoever gathered that data would have had to have been active around the time of Zero's death and before Zero 2's death, or just be on another tier of power and knowledge to be able to just manifest a being like this back into reality. And unfortunately, it's also possible neither Zero 2 or Nightmare actually exist in canon and are just bonus bosses. We don't know for sure that they even appear in story mode because they were mentioned in other parts of the Direct. And if you're still questioning the canonicity of story mode, we at least know for sure the Dragoon is canon thanks to Star Allies, and there is a very specific detail of Nova lacking his stopwatch, and we see this same stopwatch floating around in Star Allies as well. Now finally we get to the new threats. Zora is the main catalyst of this story, at least that's what we assume. It is an inorganic intelligent life form that cannot move on its own, and the implication is that Zora made a wish to Nova to make the Airides appear. However, Sakurai only gives us this very cryptic statement that its wishes acted as the foundation that set fate into motion, not specifically mentioning that it's responsible for the Airides. And this isn't the first time in recent history where fate has been a key idea, so it isn't out of the realm of possibilities that the Zora is what gave Nichol the dream, and possibly being one of the meteors of the prophecy. We technically don't even know if the Zora landed on Popstar or somewhere else. We assume that the riders are being led to the Zora and they're on Dreamland, but for all we know, it could just be leading to a portal that then leads to the Zora. One thing we know for certain is they are really emphasizing how old this thing is, showing this time lapse. And since it's clearly an artificial being built by something else, that means there's possibly an even older civilization out there somewhere, possibly the oldest thing in Kirby lore as we know, only beaten out by the void itself. The name Zora roughly means dawn or light, which further implies this ancient primordial aspect, and being a catalyst of something bigger. Then, of course, we have this mysterious Dark Rider character who, as far as I'm concerned, still doesn't have an official name. It's most clearly taking the form of Dedede, even using a wheelie as Dedede is commonly depicted, or at least some other character of Dedede's species. It does have dark matter elements, but I wouldn't go as far to call it a proper dark matter invader. And most interestingly, it has a distinct blue eye color and a torch coming out of its other eye. Dark matter has been depicted before with a blue eye one time in Kirby Quest in Mass Attack, but I doubt this is intentional. It's not even the same shade of blue. And technically he only has one eye as the other is a torch, so that could be more evidence of it being dark matter. But the blue color is definitely significant, as there's also a strange blue glow inside the Zora, which strongly implies the Dark Rider is some kind of manifestation of the Zora's will, probably as a workaround to not being able to move itself. And since we're deliberately using this blue color to show that the two are linked, it further strengthens the idea that the Zora could be linked to the Star-Crossed World lore, as there is excessive amounts of blue in that game, from everything to the Starries to Meteon himself. Now, as much as I wish this character was a full-on ancient Dedede ancestor, we can see it materializes from the darkness, so at very least, whatever this thing is some kind of twisted being that has been fused with the darkness, if it even was a real being at some point. And finally, there's these somewhat generic military crafts leading an invasion of some kind. Between Zora being an inorganic life form and this tank's very, "I'm sorry, Nichelle, I'm afraid I can't do that," looking eye, it's possible this story will delve deeper into the nature and danger of AI, something that was only briefly touched on in Planet Robobot. Oh yeah, I also don't know what to make of these character items in Road Trip. They seem disjointed, and there's a lot of characters that shouldn't be here. Magman and Tortilding are from other planets. I mean, I guess the portal Elfilin made could let Tortilding over, and King Gollum should be in the Mirror World. But what I want to point out is Elaine is here, and I previously believed and said that Rainbow Curse wasn't canon, so if this game is canon, then it probably is too. That is, if these are even in universe. They don't feel very diegetic, but I'm not entirely sure. One final debatable detail people have noticed is a large majority of the less major characters that made it into the roster were specifically significant in Kirby Right Back At Ya. Cappies were the main citizens, Knuckle Joe was a Star Warrior, Chef Kawasaki was a major reoccurring character, Lolo and Lala were a part of Kirby's main friend group across the whole series, and were also once a Star Warrior, Waddle-Doo was a commander in Dedede's army, and Scarfy got a dedicated episode, with specific lore about being an enslaved species corrupted into monsters by Nightmare Enterprises. The original Japan version of the Kirby anime also shared an OST with Kirby Air Ride, and while this was definitely only made for promotion, in a multiple-part movie right before the finale, Kirby is ambushed by Air Riders sent by Nightmare. And Caboose says that the machines were apparently being stolen from all over the galaxy by Nightmare, which is surprisingly enough completely in line with the lore we're shown in Road Trip, or as either there are just more air ride machines all over the world that are getting called the Popstar, or there's an NME ship that just got forced to dump its supply on the world. And considering the spacecrafts and the fact that Nightmare is making his first real appearance since Adventure, and his last words in the anime are that he would be able to come back infinitely as long as there's fear, we might genuinely be seeing anime lore connect with the game lore for the first time ever. And I am beyond hyped. So let's do a roll call. We have Nightmare, 02, Nova, the Fountain of Dreams, Dedede lore, Dark Matter, a galactic military, a possible harnessing of the void ability itself, and something we know for a fact is ancient. With all this, I think it's safe to say while it's possible the Dark Rider has the soul of a specific named Dedede tribe member, it seems more to be a representation and amalgamation of the ancients as a whole, and his torch eye representing him being a literal, guiding torch to lead the air rides to this unknown destination, and possibly passing the torch for Kirby lore as a whole, because it really feels like this is the culmination of everything, the climax. And I cannot wait to see what transpires. Okay, upon further inspection, it's not a literal torch coming out of its eye, it's actually more of two exhaust pipes from an engine, so that's a little awkward. Also, I have no evidence for this, but what if the reason Adeline hasn't been revealed is because she'll actually play a major role in the story, and finally acknowledge her connection to the human ancients? We at least know for sure Sakurai is still hiding some alt skins from the demo, and there's possibly, and I think it's highly likely, there will be a Dark Rider skin for Dedede. Kinda sucks I won't actually be able to play this when it releases, but what can you do?